This is Margaret Ann Windsor, and I'm going to finish this one. This is number 2, and I don't know what I'm going to title it, but anyway, I wanted to finish it here. I certainly didn't mean to get into a long length or try to put this thing up on the stand, because it just doesn't work. I'll have to hold it until I can get another one or something, I plan to get another phone if I can. And I think I can. Just this time, I hope it's a good one. Better not make any fun of this one. Aaron Hotchner. um. Anyway, what was I going to say? I was telling about. It's just this simple. Gonzalez. I was putting back the connections and all this that happened. Okay, so it's in. All you have to do is investigate it. There's links and trails left. During the Watergate, this was in 72. Remember, this has been a long time, and I've put up here that I saw something that at Gonzalez and Kathy, who was his mentor's daughter, and his mentor from the University in Virginia, Louisiana, certainly didn't send her daughter up there to have things done to her. Anyway, I saw something I shouldn't have and paid a price for it. I don't know what was given to me then, but I've put this up about ending up out in Terrell Mill, close to where Warren and Rosina Matthews were murdered. They were pathologists, or they were forensic psychiatrist at Piedmont Hospital. This is Larry McDonald's hospital, where murders happen, and where Dr. Hardiman and Dr. Who the rest of them got in on mine? Beecham. I don't know if he was at. So let me just leave it there. So where am I going with it? They almost killed me. Is what they did to me out there. I was given something, and I don't know. My car got out there. I was in it, and it was black, and I was up against a dead end, and it was 4 of them. One of them was black, and one of them was the person I thought was Smokey Stover. At the time, I just now learned it wasn't. But so how did he get away with this? He owned a company. He hired me to work for him. He was supposed to be a record player. Elvis. The only thing I know is some stuff about Elvis gets involved in all this. In fact, he stayed upstairs here. There's a picture out front where he stayed. He died just before he was supposed to come here, back here to Roanoke anyway. I don't know if he'd come back to this where I'm at. But my husband and our divorce was supposed to be final that day, and he stood in line to get Elvis's tickets to the Omni, and we saw Elvis down there. That was in 73, so he died 3 weeks before he was to appear back up here. I think it was his last concert. So you get into things like John's mother. Well, at least he was, anyway, his mother and sister rode the bus down from Nashville back when Mark and Scott were little. They were kind of little. I don't know how old. They weren't in school yet, I don't think. And you get into Elvis's stepmother that married Vernon, the father, was on the bus. You get into so much of the stuff that involved Elvis, but then the patterns used when he died. As far as I know, he died. There was mind control and certainly patterns used in it. So now where I'm up here, where this is kind of a where I'm at, like a dead end, or hopefully I'm out of it. But this was to get to this, and I meant to make it short. 2 weeks later, after the Gonzalez and being taken up, and a guy drove up in the car, or a couple, I don't know, and they stayed there and got the driver's license, right? The license state off of the car, and I'm babbling because I've done so much this morning. So they had the license. So they didn't kill me. They were going to kill me. And somehow I got back home 2 weeks later. I am drugged. Rohypnol, I didn't even know what it was till later. I was given that. I was taken across this, from Roswell, which is Northside Hospital, where I later worked for Forsyth, Kuchar, and McCoy, a group of doctors there across from Northside. And they were very nice. They were the ones that they knew I Xeroxed the book. They knew I was doing it. And they were very nice to me. I can't say anything other than what I've said about the heart bypass. It gets to be weird where the chip was put in the guy, and the next job I have is for the Dixon. And it was like following this trail or something that you find out all this stuff. And anyway, let me go back to this. It's going to go off, and I meant to make this short. There's this link. 2 weeks later, I was taken across to the trolley tracks in a clinic there in College Park. There's one floor, not very many rooms to it. Taken to the back, I was drugged. Knew what was going on. I couldn't do anything, move. Put back there, and just across a little hall, I could see that there were 6 people in scrubs, ready to operate or something. I thought if I could only get them to notice me and help me. Well, I look back now, they weren't there to help me, believe me. So then there's a phone and a doctor behind the kind of little hospital bed that they put you on to examine you. It's behind me. The phone's there, and they let me know, grinning, what's going on. And Gonzalez is standing over me, and I'm out. As far as I knew what was going on, I was terrified. I got the gist by hearing the conversation, what was going to happen. Phone was in the other room. The extension was there by me. Behind my head, the doctor, and Gonzalez is here. Okay? Behind my head, I'm turned this way, and so, you get the gist. So, anyway, I'm in a hurry anyway to get this. This could all be checked out. They should want to know what's on the 18.5-minute gap on Watergate tapes that was subpoenaed, and the President Nixon and his secretary got into covering it up and deleting, along with Henry Kissinger, who's on the other line, who's head of your global government now that I've been talking about. They kidnapped me. And the Sorry Sot was head of your Secretary of Defense at one period of time under Nixon, and Secretary of State at one time under Nixon. So here we go. He's on the other end of and on the tapes they subpoenaed that they deleted the gaps. And he's ordering my lobotomy if my country and people don't follow through with some whatever demands he made. So I'm a hostage. I always have been. Evidently, I'm terrified because Gonzalez is. I got the gist then that the doctor behind me with the phone is the one going to do it. I guess I don't know what the scrubs were doing over there, getting in on it too for the fun of it. Anyway, evidently, my country and my parent. Well, I don't know if my dad had anything left, and my mom. But the Brits crossed their palms with whatever they asked, and I lived another day. I was almost killed April Fool's Day of 80, taken across the state line. Hell done to me. I shouldn't have lived. Worked for Fred Simpson, the district attorney, where they played the 18-minute gap. I mean, they were role-playing, and I remembered all of it. Now I'm going to jump to being out at Flint's, and the Hustler magazine, when they endorsed me for the presidency, and it was April of 1984. Now then, Flint had furnished me a car for a year. I had that, and I had a little money, and I had an apartment up there at Falls Church, across from Seven Corners, and Lord and Taylor's at that time was across the street over this way. My point is, through telesecretary, I went to work. It was out of Kensington, Maryland, and was called out to Ron Ziegler's, he was part of the staff during the Watergate and all of that. And Nixon, he worked for Nixon. He certainly knew all the people on the staff, especially Henry Kissinger. And so he's called me out, and I think his office was over in Alexandria, Virginia, right not far from Falls Church. And I had the car, hustle a car, and I pulled up, and I think it was a lake right there. It said home office. And it was a trucking firm he owned. It's one of the huge ones. There's one other, but this one was next to it, was the real huge one. Well, it was a ghost staff, and come to find out they were at a show out in Vegas. I got a phone call. I was acting receptionist and got a phone call, and on the other end of it was Ron Ziegler. And he said, "Who is answering my telephone?" I didn't say my name or anything. Very nice man. Okay, now then. I worked there for about a week, I can't remember, 2 weeks maybe, through telesecretary, while they were at the show. This would show up somewhere on somebody's tax returns or something. And the fact that I mentioned the 18-minute gap, this can be proven here. What I've told just here. And since you had the Watergate hearings, do you not think that it would be nice, Nancy Pelosi and all you others up here, Waters, what's her name, Waters, black woman, all you women and men too, I don't mean to leave you out. You think you shouldn't be concerned about little old me, what's happened to me? That's on what's on your Watergate tapes that were subpoenaed, that were played around with and gapped, and now then you've got your global government in power up there, and still you're going on. Makes you wonder what's really going on with all this down at the border and all the shutdown of the government. I hope Donald Trump's good. That's all I can say. The rest of them, seriously, is controlled by the Illuminati, the United Nations, the Rockefellers. And they did it by taking out my father. That's how they really got the hold on everything. Now then, is there any bunch of women that get out and they got all this stuff going about hashtag and all this? They have gotten together and they have protested, the blacks have, and Martin Luther King's part in all this. He has a part in all this too, this great civil rights activist, and your civil rights leaders, and Reverend Andrew Young was appointed UN to the United Nations, your global government that did all this to me. And a lot of you just don't know it into my country. Do you think it's about time that you told the truth, or does God have to come and do it for you? I so hope so. There's a few of you on Facebook. It's good, and I know that I got shut up because I'm here, and people don't particularly like to hear what I'm saying. But anyway, Nancy Pelosi, since you're in the limelight and all this is supposed to be good and for women's rights and the illegal immigrants coming across the border that would come in droves, and granted, you all went down there and bombed their countries and did all this and created the havoc. So that's your United Nations. Why don't you finish your Watergate hearings? And let me tell you what's on the Watergate tape that has the gaps with good old Henry Kissinger at the helm.